Hello, my name's Artemis, and just in case you couldn't fucking tell, it is apparently that time of year that we call Christmas. Yes, there is dead and fake plastic trees all over the place with lights on them. Happy Yulmus, I guess. And this time of year is the time where people come together and celebrate and blah, 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 blah. But there's also a shitload of fucking films that revolve around Christmas as well. Some that are hotly contested as to whether Die Hard is or is not a Christmas film. Spoiler alert, it is. But also, these films seem to follow the same kind of bullshit logic where, you know, everything being all lovely and happy and smiley trumps, you know, actual fucking logic. So I thought I would select a couple of films that I have seen to death and whip the shit out of them, because honestly, it's so easy to do. It's like the shit isn't already just falling down from them. So yeah, it's time to kill the Christmas spirit. Let's fucking do it. Okay, so let's start off with one that's very near and dear to us. It's one of our traditions. It is the Santa Claus from Disney, the story of Tim Allen's character who witnesses the literal death of Santa Claus and so decides to just become him without, you know, him knowing. That's a kid's film. Okay, it starts off with Santa fucking dying. Okay, literally death. Okay, so, excuse me, yes, the death is so bad it makes me want to throw up. So basically, he's a divorcee who works at a toy company. He puts on the suit, becomes Santa Claus, has some sort of mental break, goes to the North Pole, and, you know, the whole thing can be argued that this is just his psychotic episode, and he's dragging his kid down with him as well. Because, okay, you really want to expect that this is, you know, okay? Not only do you have to, you know, you put on the suit, you're going to become Santa Claus, you got a year to settle your affairs, but also, you know, he starts off full on hating this idea, and then he comes round to it like some sort of mental conditioning or brainwashing. Like, what are they slipping into that hot chocolate that he likes so much that's making him suddenly think this is a good idea? And you got Judge Reinhold's character, who is a, you know, a therapist, a psychologist, whatever the fuck he is, psychiatrist, who is literally looking at this from a clinical perspective and being like, he is in danger, and he's gonna endanger the child. And, I mean, it is a little bit of a problem where the mum is a little bit of a bitch. Like, they all kind of seem, like, ready at the drop of a hat to just find an excuse to take Charlie away from his dad. So it's kind of like, oh, thank God he picked up that Santa suit, because now we can fuck him off for good. But the fact that at the end they have to just sort of reconcile with it and like, oh, he is actually Santa Claus, I do believe now. And I think they have the fucking phrase, you know, believing isn't seeing, seeing is believing. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. They mean the same sort of thing, but whatever, I guess. But yes, it basically means if you want to become Santa Claus, go and kill someone. Like, that's a happy message, isn't it? You want to go out to be Santa kids? Go and push him off a fucking roof, okay? Like, they're testing flamethrowers and shit on his suit. They're ready for full-on war. Is this going to turn into The Purge? Like, every single Christmas Eve, people who want the unnatural, godlike powers of Santa Claus to just go out with their AK and just like, right, it's my turn now, motherfucker. Like, Jesus Christ. Oh yes, the Grinch. And we're talking about the Jim Carrey one. You know, the one where he had to undergo actual training from military professionals on how to withstand torture just so he could wear the fucking suit. We're talking about that, not the Benedict Cumberwank, whatever the fuck it was, that was just CGI nightmare fuel. No, we're talking about the original hardcore film, which is all about racism. I'm saying it, alright, I'm saying it. Some poor little fucker turns up in their equivalent of birth, which don't even get me started on the whole, oh, they come in umbrellas, So what happens when, you know, the Who's fuck? What's going on with that? Don't really want to know, but honestly, big plot hole there. Dr. Zeus clearly not abiding by logic, but he turns up through no fault of his own, just slightly different. He's green, he's furry, he's something weird, you know, and, you know, honestly, people should love things that are weird, green, and furry. I know I do, but he turns up for no fault of his own, and, you know, is instantly ostracized because, you know, they left the fucker outside, no one noticed him, so of course, he's going to be a bit pissed off to begin with. Everyone else gets all their attention and fuss and gets to enjoy their first Christmas. He gets to watch a fucking fishbowl party. Like, that's going to scar anybody for life. But he goes to school regardless, and he tries to, you know, fit in with this society that clearly doesn't want him, despite, you know, them trying his fucking best to show the spirit of Christmas. And no, apparently that's not good enough. And, you know, they mock him, and they take the piss out of him, and they bully the shit out of him. So he, you know, recedes away from society. Fair enough. I think anybody would do that, wouldn't they? You know, especially if that cunt hole that's deciding to take the piss out of a literal fucking child then becomes the mayor, the key fucking figure of authority in this town. And then he goes off the rails a little bit and starts trying to ruin their shit. And I'm like, okay, I could see that's problematic, but also if someone's spent their entire life trying to ruin yours, you're gonna want a bit of revenge, aren't you? But no, it's okay, because they're not gonna try and understand him. They're not gonna try and, accept that, oh, everybody's different, we all believe different things, so obviously we need to accept that difference because it's what makes us, well, I was gonna say human, but, he's a Grinch, so yeah. No, instead what they actually do is indoctrinate him into their religion because it's religious. They basically operate a cult. Let's just say it how it is. The Who's are in a fucking cult. They don't seem to have a god or a deity, but they're in a cult. And they indoctrinate him into it. They force him into their religious fucking festivals. And sure enough, they win the day. They convert him. And then he's brainwashed into this cult as well. And you can say, oh, it's lovely. He discovers that, he actually likes people. And his heart grows 3 sizes. All right, medically, that's a bad thing. Okay, inflammation of the heart, that fucker's got days to live, if that. This film is a mess. And that's not even going into the whole, those two are clearly fucking vibe, and everybody's slightly obsessed about this one day of the year. It's, ugh. But hey, happy fucking Christmas, I guess. Enjoy. Ah yes, Love Actually, that film that just has a shitload of stories in it, and it's, kind of hard to follow, but it's fine, it's just fluff, basically, but each story has its own problematic little fucking bit. So basically, it has loads of shit. It has a prime minister that's just coming into power, it's got Liam Neeson and his son, they've just lost the mum, it's got a wedding happening, but there's a love triangle, some weird guy from the BT adverts decides he's gonna go to America to fuck. It's got, what else has it got? It's got Colin Firth going abroad to write a book, and there's a bunch of other ones I'm probably forgetting. Oh, and there's this whole thing going on with, this family, and he's a newspaper or something like that, and he might be cheating, but someone else there might want to fuck someone who looks kind of sexy, but they've got a problematic issue in their life. It's a whole ass fucking thing, but each story is kind of, it's supposed to be oh, it's all nice, it's all lovely, but no, it's kind of, real life kind of invades. Let's take the Prime Minister story, for instance, and he falls in love with the secretary, and that's kind of sweet and nice and lovely, but also he's supposed to be deciding national policy here, and laws, and, important shit. And what happens? Well, he basically just rolls over for Billy Bob's president of the United States, doesn't really say shit when they just want whatever they want and doesn't get anything back, and only really decides to step up when he gets horny and the secretary gets sexually harassed. That shouldn't be the thing that decides international policy, but whatever. And then there's the whole thing with, Alan Rickman's character who is potentially cheating on his wife. Ooh, but honestly, yeah, he kind of is. Let's just say it how it is. He's, being flirtatious, emotionally cheating, whatever. But then there's that whole thing where she, finds the necklace in his pocket, and then on Christmas Eve, they decide to open one's particular present early. And she opens it up and it's a CD, but it's a CD from a woman, an artist that she has said she loves, and he's listened and is just oh, well, this is something you like, so I'm going to get this for you. So she breaks down and cries and it's he must be cheating. Bitch, it's Christmas Eve! You really think he's going to wheel out the big guns on Christmas Eve so that Christmas Day all of your presents are fucking disappointing? Jesus Christ, have some fucking sense. I'm sure anybody else's fucking first response to that would be, oh, I must be getting the necklace tomorrow then, but this is a nice CD, thank you. Not instantly crying and being well, I didn't get what I wanted right now, so clearly he's sticking his dick in someone else. Oh, and then there's the whole thing with Liam Neeson's character and son and whatnot, and that's kind of nice where he comes through the grief because he has love and he has the drumming and whatnot, and that's kind of sweet, and it does sort of work, and he wants some attention, so he goes in the show, and he then chases the girl down. She's going to America, and he needs to say that he loves her, so he goes through airport security, and somehow doesn't get shot. This is post 9/11 now, folks. Seriously, you don't just run through security and just have someone just oi, come back here, I'm British. No, they full on fucking arrest your ass, alright? There was that one person who went to prison because they joked they had a bomb. Oh, it's all sweet. He needs to tell her that he loves her. Oh, okay, well, we'll just let that go. The kid's ended up in Borstal, all right? Oh, and then there's the whole thing with that woman who's got the brother who's in a mental ward, and it's kind of sweet that she cares so much, but also she just gives up everything good in her life. And you watch this, and you watch this story unfold, and you wait for it to have a happy ending. It doesn't. They just ignore it. She gives up on actually having a meaningful relationship in her life to go and sit with her brother, which is kind of sweet that she still cares about her brother despite all of his issues. A lot of people would have given up on that, so that's quite nice. But B, it just kind of proves that she's going to go through a pattern of shutting out everything good in her life. That's not healthy. But whatevs. And then, of course, there is the big love triangle where you've got, the couple getting married at the beginning, and his best man is, secretly in love with Keira Knightley. And they're supposed to be all sweet that he, lets them go off and be happy. He does that thing with the signs, and it's lovely. And she knows that he's got feelings, but it's okay. But also, hang on a fucking second. Imagine living the rest of your life, the rest of your marriage, knowing that, dickhead down the street will slip one up you any fucking chance he gets. He is full on in love with you. Imagine living that marriage, having a fucking get out of jail free card. If things start to go off the rails a little bit, well, I can just go down to your best mate and get fucking filled up, I guess. How fucking awkward. Yes, you can stand there with the signs and be all lovely, but every single gathering, every single night out and, meal that they have together, she's going to be sat there like, is he still looking at me? Is he still fucking looking at me? He's going to be sat there torturing him fucking self. There's they're so happy together. Oh, look, now they're having kids. But love, actually, I guess. Jesus, what a mess. Oh, Elf. Oh, fuck me. This used to be an entertaining film for me to watch, and then I watched it more than once, and suddenly I can't watch this film anymore, because, Will Ferrell being Will Ferrell, basically, but at the beginning of his ferality, I'm making that word up. So it's the story of a boy that sneaks into Santa's sack, not an innuendo, all right? That's wrong. Sneaks into Santa's sack on Christmas Eve from an orphanage and goes to the North Pole and has to sort of assimilate in. Because apparently, the first thing that Santa thinks of when a literal child, has entered his domain is, well, that's free labour. We'll raise that like livestock, I guess. You, head elf, this is now your son. Oh, and we won't tell him he's human. No, we won't tell him that he's different, despite the massive fucking difference in height and sociality. No, we'll just let him suffer from being, the odd one out, and we'll bitch about him behind his back because he's not a magical little elf. And I'm sure that won't damage him. I'm sure that was not going to hurt him in the long run. No. Jesus, this is basically Stockholm Syndrome, the movie, isn't it? He ends up with these people that don't even tell him who he's from and whatnot. And it's like, oh, well, this is your father. He's on the naughty list. Oh, right. So not only are you from a different fucking world from us, but your dad's a cunt. But no, he goes and travels and does this journey, and it's all lovely and fresh-faced. And, Santa apparently thinks it's a good idea to just let this guy who's literally never been in the real world before and never had any kind of semblance of what the fuck it's going to be like, just go into New York City. Yes, I'm sure that's safe. Was Santa just trying to get the fucker killed? Was he just like, you go to New York City, someone's going to mug you, probably shoot you as well, and we can just be rid of you, and I don't have to deal with that again, just wash my hands of you entirely. What the fuck was the game plan here, Nick? Seriously. But he goes off, he sees his dad wants nothing to do with him, despite a DNA test, and I'm kind of like, well, the guy's clearly got something up with him, so I understand that, but yeah. He goes and gets a job at the Christmas mall, and I'm kind of just like, someone needs to do a fucking background check on this dude. He's about to be working with children. I'm not going to say that, the main character, Buddy, is a nonce or anything, but also, how do you know that? Jesus, do a fucking background check, please. But in the end, he sort of wins them round and he helps, save Santa, and they do this whole thing seeing isn't believing, or believing isn't seeing, all that shit, I can't remember. But it's kind of like, oh, you want to say that he should believe in Santa, but then you deliver the actual evidence. That's not belief, is it? That's knowing for a fact. And apparently, it all rounds itself off. It's nice, it's lovely, and it's just generally a bit fucking creepy. Oh, but he writes a book about himself. But he still has to live the rest of his life knowing that he was brought up in a mythical place that 99% of the world full on knows for a fact is not a real thing. Is this just a metaphor for something? Was he kidnapped by someone and managed to finally escape, and this is just what his fractured mind just concocted to make it slightly less painful? Because it kind of feels that way. Oh, God, and then there's the Muppets Christmas Carol. The Muppets Christmas Carol. Oh, God. Well, it's that whole thing with, No, there's this bit with, No, I don't think I can say anything about that. I think that might actually be the perfect Christmas film. Shit, yeah, it is. I can't tear that apart. Fucking, that's a masterpiece. It's a classic. But yes, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one. It's fun to just take the piss out of films, because the thing is, I still do vaguely enjoy them from time to time as well. But, you know, when you watch them so many times, you have to admit that fucking hell, there's a lot of plot holes in these things. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. If you, or if you celebrate that, I hope you just have a good time of year if you don't. You know, everyone wants to say Merry Christmas, and I don't even see it as a religious thing anymore. It's more of a social thing, but blah, blah, blah. If you celebrate something else or you don't celebrate it at all, just have a good time. Just enjoy the end of this year and hope the next one is a bit fucking better. If you would like to support us and help make my next year a little bit better, bing, bong, bang, there is some stuff to have a little look at. You can get yourself some nice merch, get yourself a paw cushion, see what it's like to have, you know, this doggo's beans pressed into your face, because I would imagine it's quite good. I'm not flexible enough to try it myself, though, so whoops. And also, you could also check out the Patreon and become a, you know, supporter of this channel, and then all of this will be partly your fault. So it's quite nice to pass the buck like that. But thank you again. Merry Christmas. Happy time of year. Whatever the fuck you celebrate. Have a good one, I guess.